So you see, Centurion is already looking really good in the OCG as I anticipated. Well, no shit, every prediction I make is always perfect. That's because I am perfect and I never make mistakes, obviously. But yeah, because of Centurion being really popular, we can actually see some nice tech cards being played again. By the way, this applies for the deck itself and also the decks that are trying to counter it. So first of all, though, let's at least try to understand what the deck does. It's somewhat of a mid-range deck because pretty much all of your combos are 1.5 card combos and you're always ending on pretty nice boards, but it's never something super huge. And it's really similar to Crystal Beast, but instead of your monsters being treated as continuous spells, they're continuous trap cards. So since these Centurion monsters are treated as continuous traps in the spell and trap zone, you can actually use their special summoning effect as quick effects. So yeah, you can summon all of them on your own turn and all of them on your opponent's turn once each. And because of the fact that you're always getting a search with PRIMERA on your own turn and on your opponent's turn, this deck snowballs at the speed of light. So you guessed it, you're really trying to stop this deck as soon as possible. Since it is a deck that technically runs a lot of trap cards in the form of Centurion monsters, which is kind of counterintuitive, Jinzo and Royal Decree are really good against them. And since they can also play Floodgates like There Can Only Be One, or use Board Breakers like Evenly Matched, or even play Infinite Impermanence in general, Royal Decree and Jinzo are always really nice. You obviously don't have to play both, but if you're playing something like Mannequin Cat and Sprite, then Jinzo could be pretty nice. Now, some people have been talking about Unending Nightmare, but honestly, I'm not really a fan. It is once per chain, so if you're trying to destroy one of their Centurion monsters, they can just chain the other two. And then they still Synchro Summon using the field spell, and you're absolutely screwed. Now, this doesn't really matter too much because the best cards against them are Royal Decree and Jinzo, like I said, but going second is the real issue here. Cosmic Cyclone is obviously decent, but that's not really worth going over because I'm really trying to talk about interesting cards that people don't necessarily own at the moment. Ghost Ogre is pretty old and forgotten because honestly, it's usually really bad, but it's going to be really good against Centurion. Now, it might be really tempting to hold your Ogre for the field spell, but it's honestly not really worth it because more often than not, it's going to be protected from card effects. I mean, all you have to do in order to make your field spell protected is just control a Centurion monster card on the field, and that's a joke to do. So because of that, cards like Lightning Storm and Duster and even Twin Twister are not really good. Anyways, this is again not a video on how to beat the deck, but rather a bunch of cards that people are playing in the deck and also against it. A very interesting side deck card that people have been playing in the OCG, and we actually have a deck list with it, is Apophis the Swamp Deity. Now, people used to play this card in Eldritch, and it was actually pretty decent, but I want to say in Centurion, it's even better. You don't only have Conquistador and Hakuero, every single one of your Centurion monsters are, continuous trap cards, so you always get to negate stuff with Apophis. And it's also not once per turn, and it's a level 6 monster, so you can Synchro Summon using it and the Primera to go into Baron de Fleur. You can do that on your opponent's turn with the field spell, so that's absolutely disgusting. Now again, it's more of a side deck card than a main deck card because you're not really trying to draw this going second. And it can only be used during the main phase, but to be fair, I can't really complain here because it negates what it has to negate. You don't even need to hold your negate for the evenly matched because if you can just turbo out King Calamity on your opponent's turn, then your opponent won't even be able to use it. Now, another card that I find really cool, but it's actually not really seeing much play and honestly is much worse, is Statue of Anguish Pattern. So this one doesn't really negate anything, and it actually functions a little differently from Apophis. So you have to summon Statue of Anguish Pattern first, and then after that, every single time you summon a monster from the spell and trap zone onto the field, you get to destroy a card on the field. And again, it's not once per turn, so drawing multiples is actually a really good thing. And it's a level 7 as well, which opens the door to Psychic and Punisher. The only drawback is that I want to say, honestly, more often than not, negating cards is just better than destroying cards, at least in that kind of deck. Because again, you're trying to turbo out a card that almost skips your opponent's turn, so if you can just protect that combo, you're always going to be winning. Now, this is by no means me shitting on the card because I still think it's really good. If Apophis is a 9 out of 10, Statue of Anguish Pattern has to be like a solid 7. Anyways, the last card that this deck can play really well is Imperial Custom. Now, this card does protect all of your other continuous trap cards from being destroyed by battle or by card effect. It's really nice because you can protect your Floodgates, like again, There Can Only Be One, or even Scale Drain if you want to play it, and you can protect all of your Centurion cards from cards like Ghost Ogre, Lightning Storm, Duster, etc. So it's crazy, the few cards that can actually destroy you, you can still play around them with this card. Because, this deck can't really play Lord of the Heavenly Prison because your trap cards are technically monsters. They're always face up in the spell and trap zone. But yeah, you really have to make sure you can get your hands on some of these cards before November. I can guarantee you this deck will be competitive and will see a lot of play. By the way, you really don't need all the cards I just listed, just a few of them, because honestly, a bunch of them are not really needed. I just listed a bunch of options. And what I said also applies to max rarity versions of certain cards, so Ghost Ogre, Ultimate Rare, and stuff like that. They might go up in value. But Apophis and Royal Decree are definitely the big ones. It all depends on how well this deck does, but I do believe that it's going to be a really solid tier 1 deck in the TCG and also the OCG. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.